Thank you, we're back. Yeah, see, I fucking fooled you fuckers. I caught you while you were clapping. But we're hanging out with Freeway Rick Ross, and we're talking about drugs, and he's trying to convince me not to get involved with it. But darn it, I think I can do it. Yeah, so how long did it take you to make your first, say, giant hunk of money? Like, what age are you when you're making all this money?
Probably around, I think I had 100,000 saved up when I was like 20 years old.
Okay, so you started when you were, what, 18, 19?
Well, I saved everything.
Oh, you did?
I didn't spend any money.
Where'd you keep it?
I used to keep it in my closet. I had like a pile of dirty clothes, and I put the money up under. First, I started in a shoebox, and then it outgrew the shoebox. So I would just stash the money in the closet and then put dirty clothes over it so my mom wouldn't come in.
That's right, and the cops would never look there, so that's what...
Well, I never thought about the cops at that time. You know, the cops didn't have a clue that I was selling drugs.
Right, your name was not...
I wasn't Freeway Rick then.
Okay. So you keeping all this money...
So my mom was the one I was hiding from.
Okay, did she ever find it?
She found it.
And what did she say, like, why is there $100,000?
Well, what I was doing... I was standing on the street selling. And so I'm on the street and I got like pockets full of money. And so I'm like, wow, you stand out here, the cops pull up and you got $3,000 in your pocket and you on the block selling, you know, they gonna wonder where it come from. And at that time, the block I was selling on was what we call a PCP block. PCP is animal tranquilizer, where people smoke that like they do weed. So I was standing on the block, so I started to say, you know what, every time I get 3,000, I'm gonna run to the house and put it up. So I started making these trips like 10, 15 times a day, and my mom see me keep going in the house over and over and over and over again. And
you were making 15 $3,000 trips a day?
Yeah.
Wow. How high did your pile of dirty clothes get? Would they eventually just, what did you do after the closet? Like, she realized that you're doing something.
Well, she put me out the house.
Did she really?
Yeah.
Because she knew what you were doing.
Once she pulled the money out, and, you know, we counted the money, she made me go get my partner, because I had a partner who stood behind me on the block, and he carried a gun to watch my back, because on this block gang members was on this block, so knowing that I had that kind of money always was a target.
Wait, and you never got robbed? Like selling $3,000?
No, I always had him standing there with the gun.
Yeah, but
like a security guard, almost.
Oh yeah, but I mean that definitely. But wouldn't there be other guys who had them too?
Yeah, but
that's what would scare me. Because like if there was just one guy with a pistol, you're like, all right, well he's mine. But if there's like, you know, that's scary that those guys knew you were doing that kind of money and not bothering you.
Yeah, and you got to pay off too. You know, you got.
Oh, you did.
You got to take care of the block. You know.
So
you buy beer
payments?
for everybody.
Okay.
Not necessarily just paying them cash money, but you know, you befriend them. You know, if you go eat, you buy everybody hamburgers and pizza and that type of situation.
Okay.
You know, it wasn't where I was making all the money and I didn't share with the other guys.
You kind of took care of people.
Right.
That's why a lot of mob guys kind of, you know, the neighborhoods love them because they take care of the neighborhood. Pablo Escobar in Colombia, you know, he would build schools and all this, and so that the local people kind of loved him and, you know, didn't see him as a bad guy.
And then I cut him in on the drug business. You know, once I figured out what I was doing, then I started to teach other guys in the neighborhood, and that's how my operation really just boomed.
So your mom finds the money, and you have to count it and get... Was it embarrassing getting your guy with a gun and going, my mom found it, you know? Like you have to...
No. Because I mean, we grew up together.
Oh, so he understood.
So he understood. He knew my mom, you know. I mean, she treated him just like she treated me. You know, she cursed him out too.
Oh, okay. So you both heard it?
We both got it.
So where did you go?
I had $100,000. Everybody wanted me.
Yeah, that really is a dumb question. I'm like, could you find a hotel for the night with $100,000 in your pocket? And what year is that, by the way?
Plus, we probably making like $5,000 profit a day or more.
So you had $100,000 plus a $5,000 a day business. And what year is this?
81-ish.
Yeah, like that's amazing money now, but I mean that's probably at least double back then. I mean that's a tremendous amount of money to be running around with.
There was a lot of money. My mom's house was probably worth about $50,000 at that time.
At what point did you have to get off the street? Because standing on the street, eventually you're going to get robbed or brutalized or shot. And how long did you do that for?
We finally figured out how to rent an apartment.
Okay. So you rented a place?
We rented a place. We went to the guy. We gave him a year's rent in advance, and he rented us a place. Then we had a spot. So what we call a spot, which is a house where you You cut a little hole in the door, and people just come to the door, and you pass it through the door.
Okay.
But even that didn't last long because, like I said, I also figured out that when you take your money and save it, then you can buy more drugs, then the drugs get cheaper, and now you can sell it cheaper, and guys started to mushroom.
So you had how much money in your house at this point, or did you find another place to put it? I'm fascinated by like all this cash. Like you couldn't keep all of it in your apartment.
At first we did. At first we kept it all in the apartment, and then later on we got what we call stash houses, where you would just keep money there, and then there was count houses where you just count the money. Eventually, where guys would just come by and drop off duffel bags of money and through a trap, just like the little hole, but we make it bigger, where they come through and there would be girls in there that count money all day. All they do is sit there and count money, and they would drop the money off, and the girls would count it and then call me and tell me, oh, he had 300,000. Or he had 150,000, or whatever the number was, they would call and let me know how much.
Were the girls naked? In the movies, they're always naked.
No.
Okay. Aren't they? Whenever they're in a drug house in the movies, they're always naked doing the crack with like a surgical mask. I'm like, what a fucking fun business that looks like. But, okay, so you would have them, they would drop this stuff off and you would keep a certain amount. And how far into the business is it that you have, like, because we've made a tremendous jump here. Like, you started off with a $50 bag. We've probably been talking for 6 minutes, and now there's $300,000 payments coming in. I mean, how long did that take to get to that point?
That took about 84, 85.
Okay, so 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, those were my best. My best 2 years was 85 and 86. That's when they created the Freeway Task Force. It was a task force that was put together to get me.
Now, how did the cops know about you?
Well, I found out when I went to court that what happened is my neighborhood bragged about me too much.
Really?
Yeah, I had become, and I didn't know that I became an icon inside of my community. You know, people literally bragged about me to people outside of our community.
Were you driving around too? I know that the one reason you didn't get caught for quite a while was you were really smart and you didn't flash a lot of money around.
No, I didn't. I didn't like fancy cars. I didn't like fancy clothes. What I did was bought a lot of businesses.
What did you drive around?
I kind of molded myself after. You ever seen the movie Superfly?
I have. I don't remember it.
Well, I had watched that movie and I tried to mold myself after him, you know, where you're going in, you start your business, and then you get out of the drug business. And ever since I went in, it was always my intention of getting in and getting out.
Did you ever feel guilty though, knowing what it was? Like, man, this is killing a lot of people.
You do, but it takes a time before you start to see that. When I first started, it was like I was bringing a piece of Hollywood to South Central LA. You know, the people that was getting high off of cocaine was wealthy. You know, when I first started, a gram of cocaine was like $300 for 1 gram. So nobody in my community could afford it. I was doing it under the cover that all the people that was using it was coming from other areas.
Oh, okay. So it was kind of a rich man's drug.
Right, it was a very rich man, Hollywoodish. You know, all the stars was doing it. You know, Rick James, Quincy Jones. You know, those type of people were the people that was doing it. Nobody in my neighborhood, when I first brought it to the community, all the older guys, when I told them what I was doing, was like I was crazy. You can never sell cocaine around here.
But because they thought nobody would buy it.
They thought nobody would buy it.
And how did you find out, like, well, I could melt it down and sell it really cheap and really...
Well, it really didn't get it. It doesn't get any cheaper when you turn it in the crack or rock, as we call it. It's just smokable. See, the difference between smokable cocaine and powder cocaine is powder, you have to put it up your nose. Well, when you put it up your nose, it burns up your membranes. And if you around somebody who snorts cocaine all the time, what happens is that once they started snorting, their nose will just bleed, and they can't do it. But you get the same type of rush from hitting the pipe, and you can do that until your money run out.
What's the most money you ever made in a day?
$3 million.
Really? That was a good day, wasn't it? Wow. I couldn't tell you the most I ever made in a day because I know it's not that, but man, if you make $3 million, you fucking really remember it. That's the most you ever made in a day. What kind of car did you drive at that time? I know you weren't all flash.
I had about 20 different cars, you know, but only like $25,000 to $5,000 cars. I didn't buy, I think I bought like 3 brand new cars before.
Were you
But I
driving
enjoyed driving like old cars where you could just ride through the neighborhood and nobody would recognize you, nobody would notice you, and you could just drive right by the police and nobody paid attention to you.
Did you drive a station wagon? I heard you drove a station wagon with paneling on the side.
I did. I fixed up this station wagon and I made it look like a coroner's car. You know, the car that comes out and pick up bodies.
A hearse? The car?
Not the hearse, but the coroner's car. You know, the one who comes out.
Oh, okay. Like Quincy.
When you first get killed.
Yeah. He's a cocaine dealer, Sam. Okay. So, okay, so you made it, it looked like
when you pull up on the side of people, you know what they do? They turn their head.
They don't want to look at a car in this car. What a genius move that is. Because there's another guy who stayed out of sight for quite a while, Frank Lucas in New York, who Denzel Washington played an American gangster. And he never flashed a lot of money. He kind of kept it. And then one time his wife gave him a fur coat, and then he went to that.
That ruined his career.
That wrecked him, because they're like, who is this guy in a $20,000 coat? And a guy named Nicky Barnes did a lot of heroin until he decided to be in the New York Times in a suit. And Jimmy Carter saw it, and he's like, who the fuck is this guy in the Times in a suit? So you were really smart to kind of stay out of...
Yeah, I never wear jewelry. I just didn't have a taste for it. I didn't want to be like I'm better than everybody else. You know, I just wanted stability. I wanted financial stability, and that's the only reason I sold drugs. I didn't sell it to hurt anybody or anything like that there. I wanted stability. You know, I didn't want to be poor and broke and hungry. I didn't want that anymore. I didn't want to be struggling.
So now by this point, the Bloods are a much bigger gang. So you're kind of standing in between these two gangs. I mean, so how do you survive in between the Crips and the Bloods without being kind of just swallowed up by them? Well,
by me not gangbanging and playing tennis, I knew both sides. And both sides knew that I wasn't affiliated with either side, you know, so they allowed me to go into different neighborhoods. But later on, you know, in the drug business, it had got almost where the gangs weren't fighting anymore. You know, it had got to a point where you could go to a Crip neighborhood and you would see Bloods standing out selling drugs with Crips in Blood neighborhoods. It's kind of like almost like the drugs almost caused the truth because now they had something to do. I think that gang activity is more prevalent when there's nothing to do.
And how many layers of insulation were there before people got to you? Like, by this point, I know there's no way street-level drug dealers are getting to you.
I had like 45 guys that worked with me, and they really tried to keep people away from me.
So what's the process you go through? Like, okay, you're the guy on top, and where do you get your coke from?
I was getting my coke from a guy by the name of Oscar Danilo Blandon, who also was my informant. He's a guy that set me up with the police. When I went to trial, we found out that he was what they call a Contra. The Contras was backed by the CIA. And it sparked this big investigation by this reporter called Gary Webb. As a matter of fact, Gary Webb's movie's coming out soon. Everybody should check it out, Kill the Messenger. They got my character in there for like 5 minutes.
Who's playing you?
Michael K. Williams.
Oh, Omar from The Wire. Yeah, I love him.
Yeah, he's playing my role. He contacted me, me and him sit down. Cool guy. I didn't like the fact they was using my character in the movie and
oh, really?
Didn't count me in.
Oh, for free, you mean? Yeah,
for free.
You didn't like they just kind of took your name.
Almost like the rapper did, you know, but
yeah.
At least he contacted me and told me, you know, that he was going to make sure that, because they had me a fire-breathing drug dealer, and he was like, man, Rick's nothing like that. You know, you guys got to change his role. We want to show him the way that he is. He was a businessman. Because I believe I looked at the drug business as a business, not as some maniac, you know, out to kill everybody and wanted to see everybody high. I did want to see everybody high at one time because I thought that's what everybody wanted. But after I learned more about it, I changed that thought. I quit a year and a half before I ever got arrested because I started to see the destruction and whatnot and the addiction that went along with it, and I quit. But with the feds, they can get you 7 years after you commit the crime. So
what the Iran-Contra connection, because I always hear, like, we had a rapper named T.I. came on the radio show that I do recently. I mean, he was talking about this conspiracy to get, like, you know, crack into black neighborhoods and kind of get people hooked on it. And we were like, there's no conspiracy. You know, it's like you start thinking, come on, that's paranoid. And then I'm hearing about your connection. And exactly how did it work with you in the Contras? With the CIA had something to do with getting crack into these neighborhoods?
Well, I don't really know much about the CIA part. I only know what Gary reported, you know, and what the, because I did an interview with the CIA director and also an interview with the OIG from the White House, and I interviewed also with Congress. I do know that Congress, that the CIA admitted that they knew that these guys were selling drugs and had went to the Attorney General and asked the Attorney General could they not report it because the mission that they were trying to accomplish was so big. It was a matter of U.S., what do they call it?
National security?
National security.
So wait, the CIA was allowing this just kind of to happen, the drugs to go in, and they weren't putting it there, but they were allowing it to happen and funneling the money.
That's what we believe. They were kind of like explicit, I think that's what you call it, where they were kind of like sitting at the door as a watch out while the guy robbed the bank.
Oh, complicit?
Complicit.
Okay, yeah, they kind of let it go and they didn't do anything. So you got life in prison without parole. How are you out?
I learned how to read or write.
Okay.
I learned how to read or write. I started studying the law, and I saw a loophole that the prosecutor had missed.
And then you get out of jail after how many years?
20 years.
Oh, you did do 20 years?
I did 20 years.
Okay.
But I had life without the possibility of parole. I'm not supposed to be out right now.
Yeah, you knew.
The way I was charged.
Right.
The way I was charged and indicted, I'm not supposed to be a free man right now. Had they won everything that they wanted to win and the appeals court wouldn't have overturned it, you know, I wouldn't be out right now.
So what are you doing with yourself now that you're out of prison? Like, I mean, it's kind of be tempting to go back to that.
No, you know, once you learn about the whole thing, and I'm a people person. I love people. Even though I sold drugs in my past, I love people. Right now, I'm teaching a class in South Central to kids who are following down the same path that I went down. I go around the country speaking to different people about drugs, what it's like, and that's why I wrote my book. You know, I wrote my book so that my book could be an educational piece for everybody, so they could see how people start to sell drugs, how a person that could be anti-drugs today and then tomorrow he's a drug kingpin. Because I believe that I became a drug kingpin the day that my friend put that first 50 in my hand, and I didn't know enough to give it back to him and tell him, no, I'm not messing with it.
And the rapper Rick Ross, I know you sued him in court for the name. Would that problem have been handled differently in 1981?
Yeah, definitely.
Have you come to any kind of a good place with him, or do you not like him, or?
Well, I don't dislike him. I don't like the fact that I think what he's doing, along with a lot of the other rappers right now, is almost the same thing that I did. Because what they're doing right now is they're selling false hope to a generation that doesn't really have hope right now. They're telling these kids that you can go out and sell drugs and parlay that money into a rap career and go and sit with the President of the United States. And I think that that's a false hope to be selling people that don't have a chance. Now these kids are running out and they're selling drugs, trying to copy that, and then they're winding up in prison.
It's interesting, too, because he's using your name, and, you know, and I have nothing against Rick Ross. You know, I have to live here. You know, I'm sure he's a nice enough fella. But, you know, he's a corrections officer who's now kind of talking about being a gangster and selling drugs, and he's a big guy, and he's talking a certain way, and you're actually the guy, and you're just a quiet, regular guy. Like, I would never suspect that you've made, you know, $900 million doing that.
Well, you know, once you learn about the business and you learn that you have to be quiet, if you're really in the business. If I would have ever got on a record, you know, when I was selling drugs and say, oh, yeah, I sold 700 kilos in Noriega and we did this and that, the DA would have came and arrested me immediately.
Yeah, that probably would. That's a great point. I don't know why.
That's just what we needed.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to encourage a music career while you're in the middle of a fucking $100,000 a day drug business. The book is really good, man. And honestly, it was hard to get. We had to wait for it because we couldn't directly contact you. We had to go through a distributor, and they had to contact you. It was a whole thing, but it's called Freeway Rick Ross, The Untold Autobiography, and it's fascinating, and you're really, really honest. And I guess that's the advantage of having gone to jail and come back out, is now you can tell the whole truth and not have to worry that you're going to say something that's going to get you in any kind of trouble.
And everything is 30-some years old. You know, all the people, I mentioned names in there that actually are real people. And I did that because I knew the statute of limitations from studying the law, that they only had 7 years. All the cases in here are 30 years old or older, and it's going to be an interesting read. And I'm hoping that it's educational. I left all the explicit stuff out for kids, so that kids can read it and understand what I went through and how I was thinking, and just in case they might be thinking the same way. Hey, maybe I can get in this, get a quick fix, get myself together, and then get out. Well, it usually don't work that way.
Well, it was educational because now I understand what I've been doing wrong is I'm trying to make a go at this stupid shit. And what I should be doing is what you were doing, because you made money a lot faster doing that than I am doing this. You're a really, really interesting guy, though. I'm really happy. It's amazing. We interviewed Mike Tyson recently, and then we told Mike that you were going to be here, and he was really like, oh, fuck, I wish I could meet that guy. Like, he was genuinely thrilled and wanted one of your books.
Yeah, it's crazy, the kind of love that I get on the streets and just everywhere I go. I just recently spoke at Brown University. Here they got a literate guy without a high school diploma speaking at Brown University, so that was really exciting. And I spoke at USC Law School, and I mean, it's just been wonderful, the turnaround and the way that I've been getting received. This is the first major TV show that took a chance in having me on.
Hold on, Rick. Somebody lied to you. I hope this. Let's just hope this goes somewhere, because you heard it from fucking Rick Ross. This is a major TV show, so. No, I was actually really, really happy that you were gonna come to New York, because you were one of the first guys I wanted to talk to, because again, you really did something. Like, it's amazing to me that I'm able to talk to you, because there's no other situation in life where I would be able to talk to a guy that hit the heights of that business. It's kind of hard to find a guy who's actively involved and go, hey, look, I love to chat. What's that?
They're all in prison.
They are, yeah, but I'm not willing to go there and meet them, because I don't think I would do very well in jail. I mean, let's be real. I mean, I'm not a lot to look at on the sofa, but I imagine on the fucking cell block, you know what I mean?
You're little too without a reputation, so you might have it hard.
I
advise you to stay out of prison.
Yeah. That is the only reason I didn't go to. I'm not necessarily afraid of being beaten up. I know that fucking probably just put a mop on my head. All right, well, Freeway Rick Ross, The Untold Autobiography. I'd be very honest with you, the book is fantastic, and I'm so happy that you can't. I kept being afraid you were going to cancel, and you didn't cancel, and I'm glad you're here to tell your story.
Glad to be here, too.
Thank you very much.
I bought you a gift, too.
Oh, yes.
Bought you one of my shirts.
Oh, thank you. It says, the real Rick Ross is not a rapper. And how much do I owe you? Is this for free?
That's for free.
Thank you very much. Well, being that we're on a major TV show, thank you very much. And thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate it. Hope you had a good time. Thank you. That was great. Thanks, man.
The Jim Norton Show. It's the fucking Jim Norton Show. It's the fucking Jim Norton Show. It's the Jim Norton Show. The Jim fucking Norton Show. It's the fucking Jim Norton Show.